It's September and we're actually in spring. We joined other nature lovers to celebrate this new season at Chifwema Arboretum, where they hosted the Spring Festival. As part of this occasion, they had many activities happening that included picnics, face painting, and tree walks.
Today we're celebrating Spring Festival, which is a seasonal event at Chifwema Arboretum. Since it's spring, we wanted to look at restoration, recycling, and rejuvenation. So for the clothes, pre-loved clothes, we looked at recycling. For the pots and everything, we looked at restoration. For example, we have a guy called Kerry Castro who makes benches out of plastic. We looked at that as recycling. Yes. So we wanted to show the people what you can do in terms of restoration and not look back at nature.
Chifwema Arboretum is known for its lovely woodlands where people get a chance to experience nature firsthand. As you walk through the woodlands, you get to see interesting trees and plants.
Hi Nick. It's springtime. For most people who don't know what spring is, please just give us a little review on it.
This is kind of seen as that kind of period where the cold dry season finishes and we go into the hot dry period before the rains start. And in that hot dry period, we actually have a lot of the trees, like these beautiful trees that we're with here, that will start to come into flower or put out new leaves, kind of in readiness for when the rains come. So with the trees, there's obviously an added benefit is if you can flower and set fruits before the start of the rains, then your seeds will be able to germinate with that rain and hopefully grow and get established and be strong by the time that rainy season ends.
Today we've had our spring festival. It's September, about the 14th. It's September the 14th, and the trees are beginning to flower. The leaves are trying to come, and it is definitely a sense of spring. But it is terribly dry. We decided to have a spring festival as a fundraiser for the Chifwema Arboretum, but also to sort of raise awareness that we exist, that we are a place where people can come and they can commune with nature, they can go for a walk, they can sit under a tree, they can bring a picnic, and we are open most days of the week between 8 and 4.
Hi everyone, my name is Marita and I'm the juice lady, I guess.
I love that nickname, it's staying.
I juice different kinds of fruits and vegetables. So today I have what I'm calling the ABC juice, apple, beetroot and carrot, but it's not, those are not the only ingredients, they're the ingredients. And then we also have what I'm stand here today. We also have some functional food powders. These are made from the pulp that comes from the juice, so we don't throw it away. We dehydrate it and then crush it. And then we have guava leaf. Apparently guava leaf is good for a lot of things. Yeah, including managing your BP, it's good for your digestion, it's good for fertility.
Yeah. I remember at home they usually get the guava leaves and just boil them. And if you have like a tummy ache, you are told to drink it.
Yes, and it will just soothe your tummy.
Oh wow.
You'll be fine. Yeah.
It's wonderful to see so many expression of ways people can enjoy nature. So not only were people selling natural products and natural foods, we also had a poet known as Chrissy, who is known for his eco-poetry.
Hello there, so my name is Chris Njamba. I'm a spoken word poet and eco-poet to be specific. I use my poem to advocate to nature and the ecosystem at large.
Do you know what Google looked like before it was Google? Well, for me, it was this icon wrapped in a chitenge with a wrinkled face yellow, broken, smiley teeth, and kinky gray hair, which is to say that my favorite search engine was my grandmother. And when you meet her, you would think that she swallowed a meteorological station. My grandmother knew her environment just the way she knew her name. Her palm was a wind vane, a supernatural device that would predict the direction of the wind. Her skin, a thermometer that would kiss the sky. It would kiss the sun. And she knew what the temperature would be on any given day. She had a rain gauge for her eyes that would hug the sky. And she knew if it would rain on any given day. My grandmother's mind was a library of information and knowledge, a place where I got all the knowledge I ever needed. My grandmother did not own a degree, but she knew when my body temperature was rising just by using her fingers. And she would carry out a full body diagnosis just by using her eyes. This is because my grandmother cared for the environment. My grandmother respected the environment, and my grandmother knew the environment. She knew the entire roots of the forest just as she knew the roots of every tree. She knew the leaves just as she knew the stems. She knew the branches just as she knew the tree trunks, and she knew all the flowers just as she knew all the beautiful, healthy fruits. And we were raised healthy children, feeding on natural food. The environment was my grandmother's religion, the only thing that she believed in, and she held it so sacred. She kept every tree like a souvenir, because the environment was my grandmother's kitchen, a place where she gathered all the food that I could ever have. From the extraordinary formula for chikanda to the amazing recipe for lumanda, my grandmother cared for this environment, but we have destroyed the environment. Today you can laugh at my grandmother's ideas of carrying the same basket to the market, but look at you, the most educated, buying plastics every day just to burn them into the atmosphere. Shame. My grandmother was not wearing spectacles like most of you, but she could see and read clearly when she needed to protect the environment. But I believe we can still do something about the environment, because God did not put knowledge and wisdom in a man. He put it in a school. He didn't put it in a school. He put it in a man, which is to say, we must use all forms of knowledge, whether modern or indigenous knowledge. And just like we pass our surnames to our children, we must pass this knowledge of protecting the environment to our children. I know they may not like the idea of learning about trees, but still teach them about their roots.
So I shared a poem on indigenous knowledge, like the importance of using both forms of knowledge, whether modern knowledge or indigenous knowledge. In the olden days, we didn't have this education that we have, the modern day education, the technology and the like, but our forefathers were still able to take care of this environment without the opportunities that we have in terms of technology and the like to study the trees and the like. But they could still use the environment to their own benefit, but also protect the environment.
Masonda is coming to say a few words. Masonda is inspirational, and she's inspiring me. And if you didn't think I was witch-like now, I certainly will be quite soon. Masonda.
Thank you, Claire. Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, I can't hear you in the corners. Hi, Marika. Hi, everybody. How's the environment here? Is it nice and calming, or it's different? I think it's nice and calming because it's in the vicinity of a forest. So I'll talk about the forest. I'll talk about how my other name is Namfumu. Namfumu means the queen. And in relation to the forest, I'm the queen of the forest. Amen. My whole passion is around the forest. So I'll share with you what my name means because it's part of my African heritage. And through indigenous knowledge systems, I have explored what names mean in relation to the forest. So my name is Musonda, from a land called Kulubemba, meaning Bemba land. The Bemba people live there. So Musonda means one, a spirit that dominates a forest, which is why we have the Msonda Falls, and around the Msonda Falls is the Msonda Forest. Msonda in Muchinga is the queen of the caterpillars. In the past, nobody was allowed to harvest caterpillars until they asked somebody whose name is Musonda. That was a sustainable way to make sure that we save the mommy caterpillars and the baby caterpillars from being harvested. What's happening now is sad because they're cutting down trees to force the caterpillars to come down. The other meaning of Musonda is that she's an advanced party, or he's an advanced party. The name is unisex. So before the king or the chief goes anywhere, the Musonda is sent. And if it's not a nice place, the Musonda would not come back because they would be killed by the other tribe or something. So, in short, it's important to appreciate indigenous knowledge because without it, we wouldn't have the forests we're enjoying now. A lot of the local people, not just in Zambia, but in other areas as well, have an intimate relationship with the forest. They would know when the birds are flying at a certain level that it's about to rain, especially the swallows, or they would know that this year there would be no caterpillars because they would read the environment. They would know if we could harvest honey this year or if we should skip a year and harvest the following year because the flowers in the forest did not bloom as much, and so the bees did not have enough pollen and nectar for them to make the honey. So what do you think the forest is? When you sit back and look at the forest around you or your own environment, what relationship do you have with the greenery around you? I like the Arboretum because it has a biodiversity, and what Claire and Adam are doing is whatever tree isn't here, they try to do enrichment planting. So the challenge we have to you is, what tree did you last plant? Or what tree did you last adopt? You can adopt a tree by finding a tree in your yard or on your piece of land or in a school or at church. Adopt it and make sure nobody cuts it down. That way, you'll be having a living thing apart from yourself to take care of. At our stand behind, we have a variety of things, some of which we brought and some of which we left behind, which are either food or medicine or a cosmetic. We've tried really hard to keep everything forest-based to give value to the forest. When did we last have a braai? You know, the charcoal and the nice meat and everything on it? Have we ever thought how many herbs were the last herb in that area that ended up as a piece of charcoal? In comes the thought, what else can we use apart from charcoal? It's a challenge to us old and young, but especially to the Gen Z, because the Gen Z are now living in a world where the trees are not as many as when we were growing up. So do you have a tree you can call your own? Or do you have a seedling that you've planted that you use as a living laboratory? Without the forest, we don't have water. Like Zesco now does not have power because they don't have the water. But ask yourself, where does the water come from? It comes from the forest. It comes from watershed areas. Without those, there will be no underground water and there will be no water running on the surface either. So each time you suffer a power cut or there's no electricity in your house, think of planting a tree because that's the only sustainable way that we can bring back the water. Thank you very much.
We need to learn how we can use the environment, get a bit from the environment so that we can save it for the future. We want our children to be able to see the mukula tree We want our children to be able to enjoy the juice that we are from enjoying, the baobab, the musekese, and Namfumu there is able to process food from natural food. They have ice cream which is extracted from baobab tree. They have musekese which is also extracted from natural environment. So there is a lot actually that we can get from the environment. So I just implore you to join the movement of saving the environment and nature as a whole, because we depend on nature and nature does not depend on us.
It is important to realize that nature and culture go hand in hand. As we walk around, we need to realize just how much our culture is connected to the trees around us and how important it is to maintain that generational inheritance.